Gray.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Good. How are you, sir?
Doing fantastic, thank you. It's great to see you.
Awesome. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, it's definitely our pleasure. We really appreciate it too.
Yeah. I like your logo. So you like in your snake room right now, or what?
Yep, we're in our snake room right now. I
Okay.
thought it'd be kind
Okay.
of cool to have our logo in the background there.
Of course. Of course. Absolutely. Looks really good.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah. You went to that Anaheim show, right? Did you?
Oh, yeah, the Anaheim Reptile Super Show. Man, it
Yeah.
was an amazing show.
Yeah. Which one you like it better, the one in Anaheim or the one in Pomona?
Actually, I prefer the Anaheim. The reason being is it seems to be a
Mm.
lot larger of a hall, so you have more room for the vendors, the breeders, and for us, the people that are going there to look to buy an animal. You have a lot of room, and it's just more comfortable, easy to get to, easy to park.
Right. Yeah. So you're more into liking the Anaheim better because I have like mixed feeling, from like a lot of breeders and a lot of friends, a lot of people that actually, going to the show. So some people, like just like what you said, they like it because it's more space, and then it's a better area, and then on top of that, like most of them, they actually, bring their family as well, so they
Right.
can, go to like Disneyland like on Monday, the next day.
Exactly.
You know what
We
I
thought
mean?
about doing that
But
too, but we didn't do it.
yeah, but for other breeders, the one that really focus on the sell alone or like acquiring the animals or things like that, it seems like they prefer the one in Pomona for some reason. Maybe because they get used to it, and then it's much cheaper in that area, like hotel wise and then parking wise, even like food wise, according to them. But for me, like the food kind of like the same price. I can be wrong, but you know. But other than that, it was a good turnaround. I was like really close to miss it because I was like out of town, and then that's probably one thing that if I can add like some input, maybe don't have it like right close to the new year, because a lot of people, like these breeders, some of them, well, not some of them, most of them, they already start their, like their driving, like right after, like New Year's. Even some's like, Christmas Eve, well, not Christmas Eve. I'm sorry, New Year's Eve. So, sometimes they miss New Year, so maybe they just have to sacrifice just to go to the show or have the booth and funding, so it's kind of
Mhm.
like mixed feeling. And then I like to ask like your opinions and other people's opinion, but overall, like show is shows for me, right? Because I
Right,
like to see
exactly.
people, to say hi, see animals, things
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, it seems like you go to like every shows, right?
We really try our best to go to all the shows. We do attend most of the Reptile Super shows, at least for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
We do the Repticon as well, and now we're starting to go to the Reptilian Nation over here in Del Mar.
Oh, Del Mar. Okay. I don't. I ever been that to that show. Is it a big show or just like
Oh, it's a
small one?
small and upcoming. Yeah, it's a very small and upcoming show. It's at the Del Mar Fairgrounds. They're doing it twice a year now. It's called the Reptilian Nation, but it's an
Okay.
up and coming show, and they do get an amazing animal show there.
Okay.
I'm talking about like porcupines and other kind of exotic animals that you
Okay.
know for everyone. And then they also
Okay.
have this gentleman that comes in who deals with venomous reptiles, and he does a show
Okay.
showing cobras, rattlesnakes, and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun.
Okay. So it's similar like the one that we used to have in Aussie Fair, right? Orange Candy
I
Fair or
believe so.
something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Similar. Okay.
something like that.
So it's
Yep.
not focused on reptiles. So it's like any animals, like mammals, birds, or whatever. Yeah.
Well, no, it is focused on
No.
reptiles. One that we're thinking about right now is the Repticon. They do a mixed show once a year in Orange County Fairgrounds, where they
Yeah.
do a lot of like dogs, cats, stuff like that, and then a small
Mm-hmm.
bit of reptiles.
Okay. Are you planning to go the one this coming in San Diego? I think they're gonna have it in San Diego, right? March or April, right?
Did mine for the Reptile
Oh,
Super
in July.
Show
Okay.
here in San
Okay.
Diego. And yes, we will
Okay.
be going to that reptile show. And then they'll be in Pomona, I believe, in August. And
Yeah.
then January again
Yeah.
in Anaheim. Mhm.
Yeah. They're going back to NM. Yeah. I'm really bad like keeping up with all the schedules. To be honest with you, like most of the time, like all my friends just like text me like the night before, like, "Hey, are you going?" So I'm like, "Oh shoot, I didn't even know if there's a show." So yeah.
Uh-huh.
What got you into this hobby?
Great question. I'll try to make a long story short. I
It's
actually
fine.
loved reptiles
Yeah.
since I was about 6 years
Yeah.
old. I used to
Oh
live on a
wow.
ranch and I used to catch snakes, lizards all the time. But my first snake ever was one I saw at a pet store. I was about 5, 6 years old, a little
Okay.
baby Colombian boa. And my mom got me
Okay.
that for my Christmas present when I was about 6 years old. And that got me
Mm,
hooked.
okay. Yeah. So are you focused on like certain animals or like reptiles in general? Because like me personally, I used to
Mhm.
hate snakes, like completely hate snakes, right? Because I grew up in the family like really strict, like snakes are evil, blah blah blah. But you're
Right.
lucky enough to have like a mom that actually okay with having like a snake.
She didn't want me to have snakes. She was scared of them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, but still, at least, she's kind of like approved, maybe like, 50-50 or something like that. Yeah, but like
Yeah.
my mom, like my parents, like, no, I don't want to
They
hear it.
wouldn't
I
do it,
don't want to
huh?
talk about it. Yeah, yeah. Um, what about your kids? Do they like animals in general, like reptiles or no?
They love all animals, horses, dogs,
Okay,
cats, you name it, any kind of animal. My older daughter, when she was younger, she actually got to pet what's called a capybara. It's a South
okay,
American mammal. Looks like a big,
okay.
like rat almost, but no tail. And she love that animal. They love all animals, but they really love the reptiles. I mean, every time we go to a reptile show, they always want to buy another reptile at the show,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like we don't really go there to focus on pets for them, though
Yeah.
we actually do get pets at the shows too. But we try to go there to focus on adding to our collection and our projects and stuff like that. But usually it's like
Mm-hmm.
50-50. We get something for our projects, and then we get something for my little girls. Like at one of the last shows,
Yeah.
we got my older daughter a bearded dragon. A couple of shows ago, or actually a couple years
Mm-hmm.
ago, we got a ball python for one of my daughters. Every year we try to
Mm-hmm.
find something for them.
Do you think it's important to start introducing, like animals to kids like early?
I
What do you
definitely,
think?
definitely think it's a very positive thing to do to start
Okay.
educating when they're children. That's when they start to learn about everything. That's when they start to learn their likes, their dislikes, their fears. So I think
Yeah.
starting children off to be educated properly on reptiles, I think
Yeah.
it's very, very smart thing to do, and it should be done. And that's what I did for my daughters. We try to educate my daughter's friends too. They come over from the school sometimes, and I'll show them a few
Okay.
of our snakes and ask the parents, "Is it okay if they touch the snake?" And let them
Right.
actually hold one of our snakes so they can know it's nothing to fear.
Right. Um, what do you think the best, like new, like reptiles for like new people, like new kids, like kids. So let's say if your daughter's friends, right? They come to you like, Mr. Gray, I want to have like pet reptiles. What should I get for them?
That's a great
What
question.
do you
It's
think?
for me. I think it's a
Mm-hmm.
pretty easy answer. There's only a few different animals or reptiles I think would make a great beginner's pet. For someone that's
Yeah.
never had a reptile before, I think it would be
Okay.
good to get like a bearded dragon if they want a lizard.
Mm-hmm.
If they want a snake, to go for a corn snake or a ball
Okay.
python. Ball pythons in general are very easy to take care of, very low maintenance. So I think those would be my three top choices for any child that's going to get started in reptiles.
Right. Another thing that I always get these, like messages, emails, right? Because sometimes there are kids that they want something, right? They want a pet, but their parents, don't like it at all, or they don't even want to hear it. Just like what, like how I grew up, right?
Uh,
What things that you can, well, not advise, at least kind of like talk to these parents that really against it, right? What would you say to them?
what would I say to the parents of children that might
Yeah.
question about having an animal? That's a good one. Um, my main thing
Yeah.
is just try to educate the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Have them over to my house and
Yeah.
take out one of our snakes that I know is very calm, which most of our animals are because we handle them quite often, and let
Okay.
them just get familiar with the reptile. I mean, if they actually hold the reptile,
Mm-hmm.
spend a few minutes with it, see how they act, I think that'll definitely change a lot of people's minds.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point because like me personally, well, the thing that sometimes it's really hard to relate to these parents, right? Because I understand, as parents, you tend to by nature to kind of like overprotect your kids, right? Because you don't want to them
Right.
to get involved with something crazy or things like that, right? But the reason that I like to ask, like with people like you, because you have kids, you have like really good families. Because I don't have kids, and then I don't have, like, I'm not married, so it's really hard to kind of relate to them sometimes because they listen to me, but they look at it. Yeah, sure, it's easy for you to say this and that because you don't have kids, right? So it's always that
Right.
kind of like gap. You know what I mean? So
Oh, I definitely.
yeah. So for me, the way I look at it is it's all just like what you said. It's really good to start your kids early, right? Not necessarily just to have
Yes.
a pet, but to teach them kind of like responsibilities, right? Because if you cannot have that, like mindset to start small, right? Just to have like a really easy responsibilities, right? Let's say just to clean the animals or to feed them, to constantly, like keep doing your chore just to take care of the animals, right? And then it's a good
Right.
way to kind of like introduce them, because when you start with like kids, when they grow up, they can keep implement apply whatever they learn from like small pets, even if they have like dogs, you know because
Right.
once, just what you said, if you already start to introduce them like right in the beginning, it's easier for them to grow and then keep learning from there. So it's not necessarily just a pet, so it can be like a bigger thing down the road. Speaking of
Yes.
which, you know, um, so you focus on ball python only right now, right? Or you have any other animals that
We
you're working
were
on?
uh, we, we were just focusing on just ball pythons, but there was
Okay.
another species of snake that I've wanted to add into our collection and work with,
Okay. Okay.
and I finally talked my wife into it, and we picked up our first snake at the Anaheim Reptile Super Show the other month, or later earlier this month, and it was
Yeah.
a super dwarf reticulated python. It's
Mm.
an Anri 100% hit snow. So we are
Oh
going to start
wow.
working with super dwarf retics here at Raised Reptiles.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, that's a good animals. I mean, they act differently. They behave differently. They're more like alert. Compared to ball
Yes, they
python,
are.
they seem to be like really smart too. It's
Yes.
funny that you mentioned that because I was talking with Garrett, reach out
Uh huh.
Python, well, reptiles. Yeah,
Yes.
he always wanted me to get involved with the project, but the thing is, I cannot start with one. I always end up with like the whole bunch, right? Which is always my problem.
Right.
So I was telling him like, look, you know, um, I know there's a lot of like cool combos that like he's working on in terms of like super door. So I was telling him, look, if you
Right.
can transfer everything to super door, I'll buy everything from you because I don't want to work on it.
I
It's a
hear
lot of
that. So would we.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna wait for you until you've done a lot of things, a lot of cool combos that I'm just gonna buy it from you. you
Hey,
know,
we'll
um,
we'll sell them to you, and we'll take care of you.
right, right, yeah. Because it's funny how, how well, not small, because the industry is not that big per se. I mean, even though it's like a global hobby, you know um, people know people's, right? It's like pretty funny because the original male that he's I still have right now. um, I used to well I always wanted the male that he has. He has this super dwarf snow, the one that he got from
Right. Oh,
prehistoric.
that's a beautiful animal. Hmm.
Yeah, so that original male, I was thinking to acquire it. Like this is like years and years back, and then he ended up getting it, and then he's working on it from there. So it's like how small the industry, because people know people, and then I know what he's working on, and then what he has and things like that. It's really funny. But anyway,
Uh-huh.
when it comes to ball python, yeah,
Uh-huh.
what project that you working on right now, or let me ask you the simple one. What you focus on right now, project wise?
Something very similar to you, as a matter of fact.
Oh yeah, what
The
do you have?
hurricane gene.
Okay, okay. Is that
Yeah, the
your
hurricane
main
gene.
project?
That is our main project. We actually have our male hurricane that we got from Hans Winter, paired up with about five of our females for this season.
Okay, just a regular hurricane, or is a combo?
No, he was just a plain hurricane, but we did pair him up last season. We got some babies. So we have one female yellow belly hurricane,
Okay.
and then a couple just regular hurricanes out of the clutch. So once the yellow belly hurricane female gets bigger, we'll pair her up with some other combos. But this year we're working with some really amazing combos. We're mixing in banana, leopard, GHI,
Mm-hmm.
pied, orange dream, all kinds of stuff.
Wow, wow, yeah. Yeah, because you don't have the clan version of the hurricane, huh? Not yet.
Not yet, but we did pair him up with our spot nose clown female. So we're hoping that she goes this season and gives us some eggs. So that we're really excited about that. That hurricane
Right.
clown combo is just amazing.
Yeah. Um, so I was talking with Hans, and then kind of like going back and forth because I believe the one that I have is different. For some reason, I don't know why, it looks different. So
Mm.
I get the original mail from him directly, and then this is like really hilarious because I wasn't really focused on the project. I was just like like getting it just for the fact of having it, because
Uh-huh.
well, sometimes just in case is something pop up, at least I have the ingredient, right? Long story
Right.
short, yeah, I have like a few import male, and females that they are all like hat clown. So
Mhm.
I paired that original male because when I saw the picture, I knew it's kind of like different for some reason. Anyway, so I pair him, and then
Huh.
I make this really different looking, hurricane clown. And then it's like really weird
Uh-huh.
because from that one male, I had like seven clutches, right? And every clutch,
Mhm.
I have this regular one meaning like that hurricane clown, the one that you see in the market right now. And then another one,
Right.
kind of like more intense, like more vivid, and then it more. I mean, you saw like all the pictures that I have, and then the
Right.
videos
Yeah.
on my Insta. So it looks different, and then it has more like definition, for like how the better word. And then for some reason,
Hmm.
it's just different. So I was like asking him like, is is my mail have anything else in it, or maybe something like going on or things like that? And he's
Huh.
like, no, 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 there's no such thing of like like regular or like most like most high contrast or things like that, according to him.
Uh-huh.
But I talk with a lot of breeders and then keep asking because everybody that seen it in person, the one that I
Mhm.
call it that like more high contrast. Um,
Uh-huh.
they always ask like, is there anything else in that thing? So I'm like, well, in theory, just hurricane clown, but yeah, they do look completely different for some reason. I don't know why.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a really good project. I think there's a lot of potential,
Oh, a lot.
especially yeah. especially if you working on with data partners. I think that would be insane. Think about like super hurricane powerball clown. That would be
Oh, that would
hilarious.
be amazing.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of potentials. And then what your thought about because a lot of people think hurricane, blitz, or what is the other one? Trick. Do you think they are all the same? What is your thought?
On the hurricane themselves, if they're different between each other. Well, no,
Yeah.
I mean I've seen
Mhm.
examples where you have a hurricane, two hurricanes next to each other, and one has more visual. How do you say? Trying to think of the word I would use.
Mhm.
Um,
More
you
extreme.
could see more of the hurricane gene in it, more of the biceps, even though it's not a
Mm.
super. Have it
Yeah.
next to another hurricane that has
Yeah.
less of the biceps, but they're still
Mhm.
both hurricane. So I
Yeah.
think there is the low version of the hurricane and a higher expression.
Yeah. Do you think hurricane, blitz, and trick are the same thing?
Oh, hurricane and what? I'm sorry.
Hurricane and then blitz and then trick. You know
Oh,
that
those.
trick gene.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, I couldn't
It's
quite
okay.
hear you that well. I apologize.
It's
But
fine.
no, those different other morphs, they're very
Okay.
similar, but it's
Mhm.
from the research I have done and what I've
Mhm.
read and from Hans and
Mhm.
other breeders that the
Yeah.
hurricane is the only gene that has been proven to have a super form, which is the Hayabusa. The other two, there
Hayabusa.
is no
Yeah.
super form. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like some people that like don't have the hurricane or haven't actually working on it. Um, they al- they always call it blitz and then trick are the the poor like poor people hurricane. But just like what you said, because they do somehow in like some cases might look similar, but
Mhm.
they're actually not because I know hurricane and blitz can look similar for some reason
Mhm.
in like certain combos, but as far as I know, I don't think there's a super version of blitz and there's no super version of trick. I can be
No,
wrong,
as far as I
but
know, there
uh,
are none.
yeah, yeah, but like hurricane, like for sure, there's a super version because Hayabusa is the super hurricane. That's like for sure, and then it's already
Yes.
done. So there's no like theory or like this and that. Um, what
No,
else
it's
you working on?
proven.
Hmm.
For us, we're
um,
working on a lot of clown and pied projects right now as well.
okay. What do you think about? Okay, so let me ask you this: if you have access to any genes, right? And then money is
Uh,
not the object. What
mhm.
project would you work on? Like, what project would you get or like focus on?
One thing I'd probably focus on, I would get is the
Uh huh.
monsoon,
Oh, you like
but
monsoon? Okay.
throwing like ultramail or something like that to give it some really beautiful color with those patterns. I think that would be a
Okay.
beautiful project to work on.
Okay. You like busy pattern, huh? Like really, that zigzag or whatever, like a
Yes,
hurricane, like monsoon, like a granite complex or things like that, right? Or no? Is that what you're really looking for?
yes, we love that busy pattern. Yes.
Yeah. Um, what do you think about that NG Inferno? Do you like things like that? Like really busy but with a lot of colors too? No?
We never. Well, we have some Enchi in our collection here that we're working with.
Mm-hmm.
Inferno, never thought about working with that. And Enchi, we're really not doing much with that either yet. I know it's pretty popular right now, especially when you get Enchi clowns and stuff like that, and other
Yeah.
ways to kind of tweak up the patterns.
Yeah.
It produces some really nice stuff. But for us, I think after all the research we've done, Hurricane was what we
Mm-hmm.
really wanted to focus on because not a lot of people are doing it. There's a lot of potential, and man, it just does amazing things.
Yeah. You mentioned about doing research. So
Yes.
let me ask you this. When you looking at like a certain, combo or a certain gene, right? What is
Mhm.
your process before you acquiring? Like what kind of homework you talking about?
What we do is try to find out what that gene actually does in the animal, what
Okay.
that gene does with other combinations, and if there's anything that we have to know about that particular gene when we compare it to another gene, if there's going
Mm-hmm.
to be any kind of issues, like where you put a black pastel, or if you put a
Mm-hmm.
spider with a spider, which the babies will, come out dead. We want to avoid doing something like that. So we just want to make sure
Okay.
that we do our due diligence and make sure the genes that we bring into our collection are going to produce high quality animals that anybody can enjoy and they can breed them to other animals with no issues.
Perfect. Yeah. The reason I was asking that particular question is because like so many people they don't really do their homework or their due diligence. So when they have to face like a certain issue, they just blame it on the sellers or blame it on other people's because it's easier to do so, right? So
Right.
I think it's so crucial to at least know what you're working on, what you're gonna get, and then what you're gonna do with it. Because buying
Hmm.
is just the easy part, in my opinion. But what you're gonna
Yes.
do with it moving forward, that's what makes us different, right? From each breeders.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Um, what's your thought about all of these people that freaking out about spider gene?
There's nothing to freak out about. I mean, even though some of them do have what's called the wobble,
Mm-hmm.
some people might say they've never seen them have a wobble before. Some people say they see it all the time. Everyone has different um,
Opinion.
feelings about the spider gene. I
Yeah.
personally, in a few spiders that I've seen, they have had the wobbles, but it doesn't affect. It did not affect the animal in any way. It was able to live very comfortably. It was able
Mm-hmm.
to eat no problems, never misses
Yeah.
meals.
Yeah.
So I think in general, and this is a very touchy subject too,
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
but I think those people who want to breed the spiders into their collection, as long as they know the potentials on what could happen when they start breeding that gene into their collection, I think that's fine. But those who just get the snake because how pretty the pattern looks or what it does to the snake without
Mm-hmm.
knowing what they are actually getting, I think that's a mistake. Because some people, if they're getting new into the hobby, they buy a
Mm-hmm.
spider, not
Yeah.
knowing what they're actually getting, and they take it home and it has a wobble. It might scare them. They might freak out. They might say, "What's wrong with my snake?" But that's just how they are. So I think it's up to the individual. If they want to breed that snake, that's fine. It does amazing things with the animals, but it's just something that here we won't do in our collection.
Yeah. Um, because it depends on like what you want to do, right? Again, back on your like what is your goal, right? If it is just a pet, I think it's fine. And then
Right.
if you even if you're thinking about like breeding them, which is fine, but just be responsible, because
Right.
a spider doesn't always produce wobble. So let's just get the facts straight up there, because they're not
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
wobble. So you can get
No.
the regular one, and then of course there's another one that have the issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
once you produce the wobble one, then keep it as a pet. Don't keep breeding them. And then
Right.
yeah, I know every time I said this, like spider, it's good, or spider this and that, and then people always like, oh, of course you like spider because you're a big fan of Kevin nerd, which is I am.
Uh-huh.
That's true.
Right.
And then speaking of which, that I actually started, like this whole chaos from Bumblebee. So spider kind of like have them kind of like that soft spot for me, because that's
Uh-huh.
what
Yeah.
started this whole nonsense pretty much. Obvious out of control. Yeah, yeah, because um these arguments already been going on for like years, so this is not something new. I mean, for new people that just get into the hobby, they just heard it maybe like last month or things like that. They feel like, just don't touch it, don't work on it. This is, kind of like taboo or things like that. But at the end of the day, it back on like what you want to do with it, right? And then
Right.
yeah, I have a few friends too, because they're kind of like worried about, okay, I have a lot of spider project in my collection. What should I do, Chris?
Mhm.
And then my explanation is pretty much the same. Like, like breed them responsibility. You know, um,
Right.
and then if you see issues, then either you donate them or just give it away or things like that. Don't keep put them back to your breeding project. And then
Right.
it's really funny because I was telling them something really simple. So think about small people, right? I cannot really say that M word because people gonna kill me. So let's just say small people. Small people doesn't necessarily gonna produce well, like make more small peoples, because small people can make regular height of human. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it doesn't make them less human than us, And if they
Exactly.
cannot do like a handstand, it doesn't mean they're bad or they just like the worst ever. I mean, they're still human. They're just small. Same thing like
Right.
spiders. So not all spider gonna create these like wobble issues or things like that. They can create regular normal things. I have
Yeah.
well, I don't really have spiders. Do I have spiders? I do actually. It's only like one or two, and then
Mhm.
most of my animals they are like hat for something. Either it's hat for pied clown or like double hat that the clown pied, and they don't have wobble at all. They eat normal.
Right.
They breathe normal, like normal. So
Yeah.
so it's not necessary, for spider have any issues. And then I know
No. Yeah.
people have been asking like, "Oh, Chris, you have to, make a video and things like that." You know, at the end of the day, I just don't want to argue with other people. Like I have my own
No.
opinions, and then you probably have yours, and other people have theirs.
Yes.
At the end of the day, no one put a gun next to your head like, "Hey, you have to buy spiders." I mean, it's your decision to work on it, or if you don't, then just let it go. You don't have to argue or like making this like nonsense video for things that you don't even know or have. So
Exactly.
yeah.
I totally agree with you, Chris.
Yeah, what do you think about the ball python market nowadays? What do you think? Do you have any idea?
I've heard people say different things about the market and the ball pythons, but I think the market is hot. I think the interest is there in the ball pythons, and it just keeps growing and
Mm-hmm.
growing, growing. I think we're in it at a very good time. I don't think there's any slowing down in the near future.
Yeah, it's really funny because I'm like looking back. So I'm talking about like 10 years ago, 8, 10 years ago. So one breeders, told me like, look, wait until you see like regular mom and pop store, even like Petco or like PetSmart, right? Once they carry ball python, I'm talking about like morph ball python, like banana, like laser, butter, pastel. It's gonna
Uh-huh.
go mainstream, and he's right because like that's how new people get introduced to ball python, right? Like
Right.
some people don't even know if you have like reptile show or NARVC. They just know Petco,
Right.
but right, because Petco has
Yeah.
like like global mainstream audience, like customers. So
Right.
it's always. I don't think it's going anywhere. To be honest with you, I don't believe that terms about like market crash. There is things that we call it price adjustment or like price
Right.
correction, which is true. It's just
Right.
like supply and demands. The price can come down a little bit, right, when there's no
Yeah.
demand, obviously, especially when there's like a lot
Right.
of supplies out there. But it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily means it's gonna be like market crash and people gonna like freaking out.
No.
Yeah.
No, you're totally right, Chris.
What is your long-term goal? Like let's say if I ask you, Gray, how do you see yourself or like your collection? What do you want to do or accomplish within the next 3 5 years from now?
Great question. It's something we think about. Actually, we thought about this 3 years ago when we started getting into the ball pythons.
Oh, you did?
Our
Okay.
focus is to be able to grow our collection to a point to where it'll start paying for itself, and also
Okay.
to eventually, hopefully, start to be able to do a few things, as a family together, a little extra money. Because right now I am working a full-time job, 40 hours a week, driving 25 miles each way to work.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Okay.
it's a long way, but we
Mm.
really want to, because we have a huge passion and love for reptiles. So that's why I started getting into the ball pythons. That's why we're starting to get into the Super Bowl retics, because we want a majority of these for ourselves, for our pets, for us to keep, but we want to share with people what we produce. Some of the extras that we produce to
Mm.
share the love of reptiles with other people around the country or wherever we could ship them to. So where we see ourselves in 3 to 5 years is hopefully to double or triple our current size, and hopefully have enough following, on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, at the reptile shows when we start selling there, to be able to sell a lot of our animals that we want to make available to people to enjoy them, and to help pay for what we have here. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, a little extra just to enjoy some time with the family once in a while.
Right. How many ball pythons do you have?
We have right now about 80 ball pythons.
Are they all like adult or like fairy?
No, about 35 of them are hatchlings, and the rest are all adults.
Okay. Yeah, I get these same questions like almost at least once a month. Like, I want, I want to make this as like my full-time craze. Like, how do I do it, right? Because there's no right and wrong answers because everybody have their own opinions and their situation is always different from other people's,
Mhm.
right? So
Yep.
like so just the short answer is yes, it's doable, and then yes, you can do it. But the way I look at it is going in as your main income might be quite tough at first because think
Yes.
about it, you have to build up your collection, right? You have to grow them, and then it's not like 1 years and then you create a like breed the animals like right away and then get all of these like eggs, right? Or these clutches. It doesn't work that way. I wish it was that easy,
No,
but yeah. So it takes
you and I
time.
both.
So right, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so what I'm talking about is like what I always tell them. Be patient. Try to lay out these 3 years terms, right? Your goals, like what do you want to do? If you want to do it as like a your main income or like this full-time job as like breeders, it is possible and it's super doable and it's not that hard. It just takes times. That's a
Yeah.
problem that not many people understand. They don't have the patience because like 3 years, to be honest with you, it feels it doesn't really long. It's really short because think about like this year's, right? I mean, already past Anaheim's show, right? The next thing we know is going to be
Uh-huh.
summer, and then Thanksgiving, and then it's
Yeah.
already going to be Christmas. So it's not that far away. So if you structure it
Right.
properly, it's doable, very doable. And then
Yes.
what do you yeah? And what do you think about like people always kind of like wonder, do you really need a lot to get involved with this hobby? What is your thought about it?
About what was that about people getting involved in the hobby?
Yeah, so let's say if they want to start their collection, right? Do they need a lot of
Uh-huh.
money to start?
That's I had someone ask me that recently at one of the
Right?
shows, and
Yeah.
basically I kind of said the same thing you did. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, yes, we would love to make this a full-time job, but that's later down the road. What I told this gentleman was, start off small because you're new getting into the hobby. You don't
Yeah.
want to just go jump in and buy 100 snakes without knowing what you're really getting into. It's not easy. It's a lot of work, a lot of time. to care for the animals, clean the
Mm-hmm.
animals, feed the animals, then your bills, the food, the bedding, the electricity, stuff like that. And plus, you have to get visibility for yourself too. If you want to sell the animals, I mean, you just can't have a couple snakes, breed them, and sell the snakes, the babies, without people knowing
Mm-hmm.
who you are. Yeah, I think I told them that it's important to get your visibility out there as you start
Mm-hmm.
growing small. That way, as you're growing your collection, you're getting more visibility from the different networks. People get to know who you are and to trust you, especially if you're going to be selling like a $10,000 ball python. When you have
Right.
someone like you who's been doing this for quite a while, or Miguel from Always Bought Pythons, or Justin Kabelka,
Mm-hmm.
everybody knows these people, so they're okay with spending $10,000 on a snake with those people. But if you have someone that just came in the hobby, has only been in it for a year, never been to the shows, not on Instagram, not on YouTube, and they just put the snake for sale on Morph Market, why would someone want to buy from that person compared to Justin Kabelka? It's like you need to take the time, invest in your collection, invest in your um, um, marketing, your Instagram, your presence online at the shows, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. And they understood that, so they're starting off small. They got like maybe 4 or 5 snakes right now. They're gonna see how they do taking care of those small amount of snakes, and then if they still enjoy it, they're gonna start investing more into it and grow.
Right. Yeah. Um, Let me ask you this: knowing what you know
Hmm.
now, would you do any different, like like when you structure or when you build your collection? Would you do anything different?
Yes, and I think a lot of breeders probably say this too, because I
Okay.
mean, the snakes are like potato chips. You eat one and you want the whole bag, and that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what we did when we first started. When we first started, we got a 11-year albino, just saying, okay, is this
Mm-hmm.
gonna be a pet? And you know what? These are beautiful animals. Let's start getting some more and start breeding them. So we start getting the pieds, but we weren't thinking about what we want to do with these different genes that we're buying in these animals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We just bought them because we thought they were beautiful animals. So what we would do differently, and what we'd recommend to someone else is just don't go out and buy a snake just to have a snake because it looks pretty or it's a beautiful animal. Do your research, know what you're going to buy, why do you want to buy it, and what you're going to do with it before you actually purchase it and take it home. Because it's
Mm-hmm.
easy to go through $30,000, $40,000 and buy a whole bunch of snakes, and then find
Right.
out, why do I have these snakes in my collection? I don't want to pair them with anybody. They're wasting money. Do your
Yeah.
education first. Know what you want to get into and
Yeah.
why and what you're going to do, and then set yourself your goal for the next 3 to 5 years, and then go from there.
Perfect. Yeah. I love that you just said that whole thing. So this is the reason I asked you that question, because you
Hmm.
know that so many people think, like when they start they have to buy female, 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 and always females, right? So my
Uh-huh.
advice for them, especially like new, I'm talking about like zero animals, so they don't have anything. Yeah. So I always tell them like buy cheap one, male and female.
Hmm.
This is why. So
Uh-huh.
they can learn hands on, like by their experience, right? So let's say
Right.
they know now if the male gonna grow much faster, so they can go breeder, much sooner, right? While
Hmm.
female takes a little bit more, so they understand it instead of like hearing left and right all of these forums nonsense, right? But they can
Hmm.
experience it themselves. It's a different thing when you experience, like everything yourself, than hearing other people's opinion. Completely different thing. So while waiting for that process, right, you can network just like what you said. Marketing is the key, right? You have to
Hmm.
network. You have to build your, your so-called, I call it team, or you want to call it, small communities, or whatever you want, right? Because while waiting for, your animals to grow, right? Because it's gonna take at least a year or two, or even 3 years. In the meantime,
Right.
after, let's say after a year, right, and then you decide, is this something that you want to do? Because once that cycle start, right? I'm talking about the cleaning, feeding, buying supplies. It never stops because it's gonna keep growing. So is
Yeah.
this something that you want to do? So after a full years, if you decide, you know what, this is not something that I want to do, or I don't really like it, or it gets me bored, or things like that, then you can just get out
Right.
because you don't have a lot of money into it, right? Because you started with
Hmm.
cheap animals, and then
Right.
knowing what you know after that a year, you can decide, okay, now I know male can go like much faster, and a female takes a little bit, like time to grow, right?
Right.
Now you can get
Hmm.
more females, knowing what you know after that year. And then you decide from there, is this something you want
Right.
to do the next 10 years, the next 15 years? Then you build up from there.
Hmm.
And then while waiting, you can go to the shows, like make friends, right? Be nice. Don't
Right.
don't act like a jackass and then thinking like you know
Exactly.
everything. You know what I mean? Be nice. Make friends to everybody, and then you build your connection from there. Just like what you said, marketing is the key. Make YouTube video. Don't be shy. Just create like photos or like small videos or things like that. Once people get to know you, it's easier to build up your so-called this small business or like hobbies or whatever like that, because while waiting you're learning as well, right? And then you build up all of your team, your friends, just like what you've been doing so far. Your YouTube is awesome. And then, well, the best part is you have kids, so you can easily reach out to like there's some family members, and then all of the kids, all the parents, and then all of the people that just started, because maybe they feel comfortable talking to you instead of like me, you know so
Right.
I think that's the best way to approach it, in my opinion, because I've seen
Hmm.
people, I mean, Jesus Christ, they spend a lot of money not knowing anything. They just like, oh, that one is cool, let me buy it, right? And then they take a picture, they're
Hmm.
so happy, right? They get a lot of likes, a lot of thumbs up. But what's next,
Right.
right? Especially when that bill's coming in the next month. What are you gonna do with it?
Yeah.
That's why so
You
many
might.
people
You
fail.
might.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was gonna say I've seen some people. I hate to say the word fail. I just find that
Yeah,
some people get into it. They go in
yeah,
all out right away, without knowing what they're getting
yeah,
into, and within a
yeah,
year, they let everything go.
yeah. I mean, yeah, that's probably not the best word, but like me personally, I love to share. And then some breeders
Yeah.
kind of like don't like what I'm doing, because they feel like it's better off to keep it like like hush hush, kind of like low key, so not many people know. But me, I like to share, because the way I look at it is, the hobby is huge. There's a lot of potential. And then me
Yes.
personally, like, there's impossible for me to do everything myself. Like so many genes out there, I cannot make any combos, like anything that I can create based on the gene. I need help. I need more people to like working on like certain
Yeah.
project, just like the hurricanes. I mean, you're working on it right now, and then it is my best interest to see you successful, because I can see like new combos that I might not seen before. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I agree
Yeah,
with you.
yeah. So if someone, let's say if they want to start, right, and then because I know you've been doing this YouTube video for a while, so you at least have a good grasp or idea on how to structure it. So let's say someone asks you, Gray, I want to create a channels, right? What is the best way for them to start? What is your advice for them?
The best way to start on a YouTube channel is to have an
Mm-hmm.
idea before you start your channel on how you want to present yourself. Like with us, we started out with presenting ourselves as a family-oriented
Uh-huh.
ball python breeder, and that's what our
Mm-hmm.
focus was until the recent changes on YouTube. And that's what I would recommend to anyone else. Know on how you want to present yourself. Who are you going to be when you're on YouTube? And be yourself, and make sure that you're consistent when you're producing videos. If you're not consistent, you're not going to get the subscribers. You'll lose subscribers. You need to be consistent. You need to be honest with everyone on who you are, and present yourself the way you want to be seen and how you want to be known as on YouTube. I think that'll go a long way. And basic is, again, just being honest, on YouTube. What I mean
Yeah,
being honest is like, with us, we're a family oriented business. That's what we present online, and we present ourselves the same way in person at the shows. People come up to us. There's no difference on who we are on YouTube to who we are when they're actually in front of us talking with us. We're the same on both sides.
yeah, that's a really good, solid point. I love that you said be yourself because there's like so many. These don't get me wrong. These are like good people. I mean, some of them like are my friend. So but one thing that I've kind of like noticing that they try to be someone else, instead of like themselves.
Uh-huh.
Me personally,
Right.
I like that raw content, like no edit, no fancy, anything. Just keep it very simple, because at the end of the day, like me personally, I like to see the individual, not the animals. If I like you, you know, like that person, right? It doesn't matter like what you have or like how expensive your animals, is or are. I don't really care because if I like you, I'm gonna I'm subscribed like right away because I look at
Right.
or focus on the individual. So I think just like what you said, like be yourself is probably the key. A lot of people trying to pretend, to be like Steve Irwin or like Brian Barczyk or things like that. Just be yourself. If you're really loud,
Uh-huh.
just be loud. Don't act certain
Yeah,
ways,
exactly.
even though when you're not. And then if you do not know things, just say like you do not know things. I love when people say like I'm new to this. This is my first ball python. I love it. Instead of trying to be like, oh, this is how you take care. I've been doing it for like 30 years. Like, what are you talking about? I get a lot of kids, right, sending me these links so to have me watch their video, right? So one of the video, he said something about, oh, I've been doing this for like 28 years. The guy's like 21 years old. It's like, what happened within that 7 years? I mean, like,
I've seen stuff like that too.
right? I mean, I
Yeah.
understand you want to be like, more advanced, maybe, to, to be like cool, right? So people kind of like give
Hmm.
you that respect or whatever that you want, right? But, for us breeders, we know if you do not know what you're doing, like right away. I, I don't have to
Yeah.
watch your 10 YouTube video, just like one YouTube, I already know whether you're good or not.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Um, so let's say if someone trying to get like new animals, right? Because I feel so many people don't have focus on like one particular species, maybe like ball python, but they have so many things, right? Would you rather have work on like, let's say, less than three different animals, or you don't mind having like so many animals? The reason I'm asking you this is because people tend to get well, not misguidance, kind of like don't have that certain focus on certain animals. They have this
Mhm.
like geckos, and even like one geckos they have like everything. It's like fetal geckos, chameleon, lizard, ball python, boas. Would you
Mhm.
prefer to just work on like certain or like specific species, or it doesn't matter for you?
For
You know
me, I
what I
think
mean?
it's important to focus. Yeah, I understand. For
Yeah.
me, I think it's good to focus on particular amount of species that can be in the same and similar environments. Because when you
Mm.
have different animals that are
Okay.
from different parts of the world, different
Mhm.
environments, there's different temperatures, different humidities.
Mhm.
You can't keep them then all in the same room. You can't keep them all in the same tubs or the same rack system because not all animals require the same type of environment. And if you get all these different animals, you might have some issues with their health and stuff like that if you have them in the wrong environment. Then you're going to have
Mhm.
to start, if you're doing this in your home, you're going to have several rooms in to maintain the proper environment for those particular animals. And that could be very um, expensive to do that. So I think
Yeah.
people should focus on certain species and then go from there. If they want to grow and get more species, that require different environments, as long as they know what those requirements are and they can have the
Mhm.
proper environment for them, then that's fine. But like I always go back to is do your research, understand what you're getting, what the requirements are, and make sure you have the proper environment for those animals because the animal's health is number one.
Perfect. Really well put it. um, yeah, because
Thank you.
the reason I was asking you that question is because like all of these YouTubers, right? I understand they need more content, right? They need more
Right.
subscribers. I understand. So they try to reach out to different, animal species, right? Because they wanna kind of like get all of these, crowd or audience, let's say, for from like frogs, or they want to get everything from that these lizard communities. They want to get more, people from like ball python community. So they have this random animals just to get all of these, people to subscribe to their channel.
Uh-huh.
Me personally, I like when they focus on one thing because I can remember. So let's say if I want like lizard, I'm gonna go to, let's say, Tom Crutchfield for like
Yeah.
iguana, right? Or maybe
Right.
Thai Park if I want to get like a, like any like a certain, like really special, lizard, right? Or if I want to
Right.
get, like poisonous. So having that niche, right, that specific animals, I think is more beneficial the way I look at it for the
Yeah.
long run because it makes people know what you're working on, like what your specialty is. You know what I mean? Instead of like all of this
Yes.
random stuff trying to be like good in everything, it's impossible because no one knows
Sure.
like what you're really working on. Like you work with everything, based on my
Yeah.
opinion. But I can be wrong, but
No, that makes sense. That really makes
makes
sense.
sense, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it
Because
does.
for some reason, like I do not know why. For some reason, there's a lot of my audience. For some reason, have this kind of a group from 10% to close to 20% now, and these are all kids from 12 to like 16, 17. So they like
Uh-huh.
to ask me these questions like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So that's why I like to kind of like go over with you, see what your opinions, see where your perspective when it comes to that certain topics. So yeah, that's the reason I asked you
Right.
that question.
It's all good.
Yeah. Before we wrap this up, how do you deal with haters?
Honestly, I think in my all of my time on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, I
Uh
never
huh.
really had a so-called hater. And yeah, we get
Okay.
those once in a while thumbs down, like one thumbs down, one video. It's like, okay, that's gonna
Mhm.
happen. You get those type of people.
Mhm.
It's all good. I think in
Mhm.
all the what 2.5, 3 years, I think over 3 years we've been doing YouTube. We've only had like a couple bad comments. I guess
Mhm.
they were making fun of one of my daughters when she kept talking to one of these animals at a show, and it's
Okay.
like I don't worry about it. I let people express themselves, and then I just delete the comment. I don't want to get myself involved with that. I just ignore those haters. They're always going to be out there, and we just do our best to just put them aside, let them do their thing, and we're going to continue doing our thing and just go from there.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Um, because lately, I've been seeing, well, not lately, it's been going on like for a while. So, a lot of kids, right? They try to, create their own channels. They make like these videos, right? And then there's a lot of like older people. I'm talking about older people that don't have anything better to do in their life,
Yeah.
bashing all of these kids. I I get it. Sometimes they do things wrong. I get it. They're kids, and they say things wrong. I mean, they're kids. I mean, don't take it like personally. Don't take it like really serious about it, you know. But sometimes kids can be affected when someone like hating them or they trying to bully them, socially. Um,
Hmm.
so I always tell them like there's always people gonna try to bring you down, right? Because no matter what you do, there's always someone that gonna hate you. They're gonna complain, whine, because no matter what you do, I mean, you cannot make everybody happy. Let's just put it that
Uh,
way. So
right.
I would rather just have them focus, keep doing it, like keep making these videos, even though they're not perfect. Yeah, they're not perfect because they're kids. What do you expect?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I just feel bad sometimes because in all of this, like I'm talking about adult, like 40 something years old adult, right? They go there as their best. Oh,
Right.
you're doing it wrong. You're not supposed to put that ball like there. And then when you click their channel, they have nothings, right? And then if you go to their, let's
Mm-hmm.
say, Insta page, right? They only have like two ball
Uh-huh.
pythons. So I'm like, you only have two ball pythons, right? And then
Uh-huh.
you already try to lecture other people. Yeah, of course they're kids, so they kind of argue back to you. But if you trying to do that to me, you're done. I can lecture you back.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You're awesome,
but
Chris.
yeah, but for us, we know what's going on. Like we know sometimes they're gonna be like crazy people in the hobby, right? We get it because we
Yeah.
already done it and we already been this hobby for a while. But kids, they get really confused sometimes. Like why there's so many like crazy people in this hobby, or like why they make fun of me or things like that. I just feel bad sometimes. But I think like with your channels, because you really have a really good content, in my opinion. Um,
Thank you.
it's always good to encourage people, right? Especially kids, the one that wanna maybe start doing these hobbies, or they just have like one animals or things like that. It's always good to have that small community kind of like help each other out instead of like trying to tearing other people's, or trying to bring down other people. So I think what you've been doing so far, like creating these YouTube videos, all the content is really beneficial, in my opinion. Some other people might not agree with me, which I don't care.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. So back again. Thank you so much for doing this. That's one of the main reason I wanted to do the podcast with you, because I want to reach out to more kids, this young audience. And then because you have a really good like family, it's a good example as a family, right? And then it's easier for them to like look up to you, and then see your contents on YouTube, and then maybe they can learn and then see you like in person. Some people like really shy, that, right? So many people
Right.
like see me in show, right? In expo.
Uh-huh.
They didn't say hi, so but they email me. And then they get really upset if I don't get back to them. So I was like, you saw me, why didn't you say hi? But, you know, so
Mhm.
creating this type of contents really gonna be, like helpful for other people, because those people that might not want to ask us like in person, or they were shy, maybe they don't want to like talk with us like directly. But if they see this, they be like, oh yeah, that's my problem too, or so this is how we do it, or this is how we fix it. It's always
Right.
good for the hobby in the long
I
run.
agree.
So yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, great. I don't want to take up much of your time because I know it's kind of like family times and it's weekend. Enjoy your weekend. And then hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next show.
We hope so, Chris. And again, thank you so much for doing the podcast with
Yeah.
us. We really appreciate it. Keep up the awesome work. You are amazing, and we look forward to seeing
Thank
you at
you.
the next show. All right, Chris.
All right. Thank you so much, Gary. Great.
All right, have a great weekend, Chris.
All right. Take care. You too.
Bye bye.